Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Gamefromscratch, and today we're going to check out an, air quotes, new game engine. This is actually really mature in terms of what it's capable of, and that is because this is actually a rebrand. This used to be called the Supernova engine, apparently, which I've never covered on the channel either way, so hey, either way, it is new to us. This is a free and open source 2D game engine, entirely open source, mostly C++ based. Best of all, it is available on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. If you want to go ahead and just download the pre-compiled binary like you would with like a Unity, an Unreal, or a Godot, without having to build it from code, you can do so. I also built it from code. It's a CMake-based build system. The key things about this one is it is data-driven and ECS architecture on the back end. It scripts in Lua or C++ for your game logic. Yes, you can do live C++ scripting in this engine, which is definitely going to appeal to many. There is, however, a huge gotcha there. We'll get to the bug in just a second. In terms of Doriax engine itself, it is both 2D and 3D, which is very cool. Features on the 2D side of things, you got things like sprites, tile maps. On 3D, you've got 3D models, skeletal animations, and so on. Fully built-in editor, including code editor, resource management, all that stuff. It's got an AI assistant. This is basically an integrated AI chatbot. If you have a like ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud Code or whatever key you want to integrate in, you can hook it up right there. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything. Lua and C++ are available again as the scripting. It is entity component system based. It is cross-platform. You can build your code for Mac, Android, iOS, Windows, Linux, and HTML with the backends of OpenGL, Vulkan, Metal, and DirectX. It's got a full PBR rendering system with things like global illumination, fog, sky system, so on. Physics is built in. This uses Jolt for 3D and Box 2D for 2D, and it is free and open source. In terms of the features, like I said, there is an integrated AI assistant. You can completely ignore that if you don't want it. If you have a key, you can plug it in, and it will interact with the engine. There is a full UI editor system in there. There is an integrated code editor, although I am having issues with that. It's got full animation support, 2D tile map support there, and well, as obviously 3D rendering. So yeah, that is it. Let's go take a look at it right now. So I'm going to head on over. We've already fired it up. Here we go. We've created a new project. And if you take a look at the editor, this is going to be immediately comfortable. It's very much like Unity and Godot had a love child. And that's the end result you get from the UX over here. Everything is configurable, so you got your nice drag and drop. You can mount things over. You can put things however you want. Nice customizability there. You can also break out and float windows if you want. So if you have multiple monitors, it will work well there. In terms of getting things up and going, it's pretty simple. So I want to go ahead and create a 3D asset. Come over here, create entity. Let's go down here, basic shapes, box. There we go. There is our box in the world. If you want to define the material on that, we can do that. So there, we now have a red box. If you want to go ahead, everything is component driven. So I can go ahead and add a new component to the box. And then you can see the components that are available are here. So if you want, say, for physics here, add a 3D rigid body to our box. There it goes around it. Although I always get errors when I try doing the actual, oh, it worked that time in terms of that. So let's go ahead and try and make that into dynamic object right there, and we'll add a box shape to it, and let's see if that works. Oh, okay, perfect. So there, that's how you can integrate physics into your world. Super simple, and it is pretty much, I imagine, what you would expect in terms of the workflow if you've ever worked with an entity-based system. Now we're going to get into the area where, well, actually, let's show a couple other cool things here as well. So I'm going to come up here. Here's the resources for the file system. We are at our root directory. We want to bring some assets in. Let's go here to our downloads folder. I already have a couple things. So here we've got, here we'll bring in this entire level right there, and we'll bring in a couple of other options. So like a barrel and a statue, like so. Oh, there we go. So we want to instantiate that in our scene. Boom. So that's how easy it is to load models into your world, like so. And then instantiate a barrel into the world, like that. It also supports animation. So let's go over here for a second and go and here, mesh to motion. This is an excellent application. If you've never seen it before, I covered it on the past in the channel. It's basically like a free and open source Mixamo, but I'm going to go ahead and create a model right here. Let's add an animation to it of just idle loop. Oops, idle loop. I don't know why that search didn't work that way, but anyways. All right, there. So we got exported model 01, like so. Let's go back here to downloads, exported model 01. Let's drop that into our scene like this, and then boom, and there we go. There is our model. Let's go ahead and drop that into the scene. And as you can see, we go down here, there's multiple sub-components of this thing. So there is a mesh component, sub-mesh, model component, and so on. That model component has animations attached. So you can see here, there is one animation, and it is an idle looping animation. So go ahead here, you can see every single keyframe in that loop, or I can go ahead and preview it, and there is our character idly looping. So that's how easy it is to bring in animated 3D models, which is pretty cool. You'll notice here, you go to the root of your scene, you've got a number of different things you can turn on. So for example here, ambient occlusion, surface or subsurface reflections. You can configure physics over here, and then you can work on or edit the default shaders. So if you want to change the sky shader, I could go ahead and fork it and then edit it right here if I wish to do so. So you got control over the various different shaders that are available. The other cool thing here is, let's go. Is my box still in the world? Yeah, let's go back over here to my box, like this guy right here, and now we get into the scripting side. And this is both awesome and a little bit flawed at the moment. The awesome part is creating a new script, super simple. You can come up here and you just get a new script, and you can attach script to the object. So here you can see C++ subclass or C++ script class. So this one inherits from whatever you've got. So in this case, it will inherit from mesh. This one creates it basically as a script, which then is attached to the game object you're dealing with, or same kind of concept in Lua. So I'm going to go ahead, we'll create a C++ script. Boom, there it automatically created it. Let's do the same thing, and we'll create a Lua script. So there we go. So we have these two scripts attached, and you'll notice they attach basically as components. So they are here. So there is box script C++ and box script Lua. Now, what you'll notice here is we've got exposed value, so I can come up here and open up the header file. So this is our C++ header file exported out. You can notice here, exported properties, speed is active, counter. So, right? And those are all exposed right here. Speed is active, counter. And I can click over here, and instead we'll go to the C++, and all this is going to do is every time, so typical callback setup, every time you loop through, it calls on update. Here, if it's been a certain amount, it loops over the counter. Otherwise, it increments the counter. And let's go back to our scene over here, and we'll play it. And then you will notice in the play, once it plays, so now there's C++ attached. It's obviously calling out to the C++ tool chain, and then boom, call the C++, and there you can see the scripts are calling, and we've got basically a Lua one as well as a C++ one going on, which is, again, very cool. So that's how you can implement things. You can have all of your logic done using C++, like you see here. And again, there are the two options there. The other one was to inherit instead, if you wish, which would derive the file from mesh, and then you could override mesh capabilities in this particular case. Or, again, you can use it as a script. And then here, we've also got the Lua version of this. I can open it up right here, and you can see Lua. So there are your properties that are exposed out. So the speed and is active, speed and is active are exported out as properties. And then init is called at the beginning of the life cycle. This is just registering the event on update. And then on update, same basic logic. It's going to call every frame, and then that is just going to print out to the console. So the scripting side of things, everything looks amazing. And I got to say, I love that about it. And this is going to be true on both parts. So let's go back over to the C++ script here. And let's say I want to change something. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to click once, and I'm going to type the word I. So I just typed I. And I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. So yeah, there's definitely a bug when it comes to the built-in editor here. Now the good news is you can actually go ahead and open these things up. It's creating, code behind the scenes for your project. So oh, there we go. So I just evaluated. So that's how long that actually takes. So there's definitely a bug behind the scenes that needs to get worked out. So I can't really judge what the integrated code editing looks like simply because it's just not working for me right now. But I'm assuming, again, this is a bug that will be fixed. So this was DoorTube 2, I think. So here you can see this is behind the scenes, though. And what you're going to notice here is our box script is here. And our Lua script is here. So you can do the code editing entirely behind the scenes if you want. You'll also notice actually creating a VS Code file there. So if you want, you just come back here, and then you could go ahead, if you've got Visual Studio Code installed, you can just treat it this way. If you've got the C++ toolchain inside of Visual Studio Code, you're off to the races. So you can use this. You can edit your code outside of the built-in code editor, but there is definitely a bug going on right now. So those are the two things I've definitely run into with this game engine that need resolving. I would love to see high DPI support. I had to drop down to 1080p to record this. Otherwise, again, you would not be able to see a damn thing. And obviously, the built-in code editor currently has a flaw. There's the AI chat window, but you need to have an API key if you want to work with that. On top of that, up here, you'll see I could also go ahead and create like a UI scene, and we'll leave that scene as it was. And you're going to notice with that set, we got a number of entities over here. So for example, here, I could go ahead and create text like so. Let's go back over here to properties. Our text is here. All your base are belong to Bob. Like so. Super simple to create text. Position it on the screen. Obviously, you can see the layout of the overall scene itself available right there. You got a little bit of controls over that as well. If you want to change the size of everything, by the way, it's available in project settings. So you can see your canvas size can be set here, scaling mode, etc. Ditto for your window size over here. And on top of that, controls, for example, here, I want to come in and create a button. Let's come in here, boom, button. And then there, and then obviously you can set all the various values for it, text, so on. So this is a really comprehensive engine in terms of the features and functionality there. Still definitely a little bit of polish required on top of that. And then also we have 2D tools as well. So if you're working with a 2D level like so, I don't think I have an image file set to go, but same kind of concept. And then here you're going to see under 2D, you got sprites, tile maps, 2D lights, 2D light occlusion here as well. So super simple to work with like so. So you've got a complete and robust set of tools here, and it works with quite a few number of platforms as well. Again, just a couple of little things to build out like this. If this little, again, open source project, it's probably just currently built, like bugged, but the built-in code editor is a super powered feature that is currently kind of flawed. There we go. So obviously it's unusable at its current performance level, but hopefully this gets resolved. So it's a very exciting engine in a lot of ways. Again, it's available at Doriax.org. Once upon a time, this was, again, called the Supernova engine, apparently. You can find that if you go down to the README. They're transitioning over from Supernova version 0.5.5, which is why it would seem as mature as it is. So if you ever saw an engine around before called Supernova, well, now you got an idea of where it has become. So over here, it is MIT licensed, open source. If you like what they're doing, come on in here and drop them a star. Again, primarily C and C++ based code over there. Yeah, it's an interesting engine. It's actually very mature. If they fix a couple of those bugs and get high DPI display working, it would actually be incredibly polished. If those things actually get fixed up, it's one of those things I would definitely reconnect with this engine. Another cool thing about it here is you actually find decent documentation here, walks you through getting started and so on, how to use the editor. So the editor broke down all the various different pieces that you might need to work with. So if you're working, say, with tile sets, there's the details on working around the tile set. Here is the sprite slicing tool that's built in there as well. Control here's, again, the animation timeline that was available at the bottom. Your process of exporting out to the various different platforms that are available. And then, again, the entire API is documented as well. And as you see, it's pretty comprehensive. Again, component-based system, and things are pretty much, I would imagine, as you would expect them to be. And then you got like just a basic primer on walking you through. So here you can see the logic of doing like input handling. It's clean and understandable. And again, the really cool thing here is you do get the choice between Lua and C++ as your scripting language. So I do like that flexibility there. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the Doriax engine. Other than a few small glitches or bugs, it's actually a very robust and interesting open source project that I don't think many of you have heard of. And I'm curious what you think now that you've seen it. So that, ladies and gentlemen, Doriax engine. Let me know what you think. Comments down below. I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.